And we like to think we're well positioned because of our focus in those areas. Innovative, discovery-based, or hands-on learning models, we like to call them. So, you know, a Michigan Tech graduate is always kind of, every company I talk to that has some affiliation or knows about a Michigan Tech graduate, they always say, yeah, it's the kind of graduate that rolls up their sleeves and is productive from day one. So, you know, and I think we always believe that working here, but when you hear it from someone, it just kind of reinforces that, yeah, there's something to our programs, and it's that, you know, hands-on, discovery-based. We give our students a lot of responsibility, in particular at Enterprise, when I look at the projects we give them. And, you know, I think Enterprise, as we'll talk about, really does feed into that overall reputation of the university. Like I said, nationally ranked engineering program, so, you know, despite being kind of tucked away up here, you know, people say, yeah, Michigan Tech engineering, there's kind of this, you know, they equate engineering with Michigan Tech, and I would say more broadly STEM now. We've got several research agencies and institutes, so those are actually interdisciplinary groups of faculty and staff that collaborate on, say, you know, sustainable futures, for example, or integrated microsystems. So, you know, we have these research centers and institutes that tie into, you know, growing that research portfolio at the top level of the university, and I think those continue to grow. And another highlight is that, you know, for the research dollars, we have a high number of invention disclosures. So a lot of innovation actually comes out of our research as a percentage of the investment, if you will. And that's actually, those types of numbers that are shown are kind of benchmarked in the United States, from what I understand.
Does the school own patents, or do the professors, or
this? In general, the university. Now, I'm not a tenured professor, so I don't know if there's individual circumstances that dictate otherwise.
But the school has a portfolio of
yes,
patents?
Yes, they do. And you can actually go out on the web and look at it. So if you're interested in getting that information, I can pass that on through Jim Baker's group. So as far as the Enterprise program, kind of in a nutshell, it's an innovative approach to undergraduate education, and it gives students not only the technical, so the application of whatever their degree program is, but also the interpersonal skills. So, you know, I think this came out of an NSF grant 9 years ago, I believe it was, and this was our solution to this engineering education reform, this big call for proposals that came out well before I was here. But the idea of these interpersonal skills, the leadership, a little bit of the entrepreneurship. It's always, you know, the stereotype of the engineers that, you know, they're always looking down at their own feet when they're talking to you, and, you know, very astute and know the bookwork. But, you know, so much of getting out of, you know, college, and regardless of whether you go into academia, government, private industry, it's so much about teamwork and communications and working together and solving decisions and managing conflict. So, you know, this was our solution to that kind of national issue or challenge with traditional four-year programs. So the idea is, you know, you get together like a business at the student level, and your faculty advisor plays a much different role than an instructor or a lecturer in a traditional course. And if we think about high school Enterprise, you know, you can kind of think through that the role of the advisor or the coach is much different. So a lot of times the faculty that are involved in this program also say they're learning along with the students, because it's not a typical role that you're used to being in. So the high level objectives are, number one, diversity. So experience working in a diverse environment, and that's not only just gender or ethnic diversity, but, you know, personality differences, language, culture, education. So people from different majors coming together, which doesn't often happen, you know, when you're so focused on earning a degree in a certain major. You know, it's viewed as a transitionary type program. So, you know, yeah, you're trying to learn the fundamentals depending on what your major is, but we're also trying to facilitate that transition right off the bat. So a lot of times you get to the end and you do a capstone project and try to integrate everything, but I think there's a lot of research and a lot of even feedback from students that says, hey, we'd like to get involved doing a lot of this hands-on stuff earlier. Ownership of a portion of a student's education, that's a key piece of enterprise. So this is, this isn't a required program. As you'll see for engineering majors, it can count towards their senior design or capstone project. But this gives students a choice to say, okay, here's this program, it can give me these benefits, which we'll talk about. But right off the bat, you have ownership, and there's some flexibility of what level of participation. So again, that's it kind of ties into that lifelong learning too. I mean, you got to take ownership and initiative regardless of what you're doing when you graduate, because rarely is your boss going to hover over you and say, okay, do this and this, come back to me, and then we'll talk about the next step. If they do, they're probably not the best type of boss to work for. But the point is, taking that ownership regardless of what it is, and within an educational program, we provide that. The rewards and accountability, this kind of ties into, the fact that some of these teams can file invention disclosures, I guess as we were talking about. So, yeah, while the standard practice is that the university would own that intellectual property, the students as inventors can be named on